Are we live? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the Everything Show. I am your host, Matrix Lloyd 212, and I am with Chris. What's up, Chris?
Yeah, guys, we just got back from vacationing in another nation there for a little while.
Yeah,
So
that was pretty interesting. So, what's going on with Godzilla?
I had heard that it just passed $300 million at the box office, which isn't great, but at least it's made it that far.
I know.
So, I mean, it's doing really well overseas. I mean, they're saying that it's doing, what they expected overseas, which is, I guess that's a good thing. I've heard a lot of. It seems like analysts can't really agree on whether this movie has completely failed at the box office or not.
Right.
Because I've heard some analysts say, yeah, it's just a financial failure that they're going to have to eat and move on.
Right.
But I've also heard a lot of people say, no, that's not completely true. It didn't do well domestically, but it's doing well overseas. So that might be where they were expecting it to do well.
Right.
Now, there's that infamous article right now. I don't really want to say infamous, but it's the one that Yahoo reported about, but someone who is allegedly close to the executives at Legendary said that, yes, they are a little disappointed with the domestic numbers. However, they're taking this as a learning opportunity, and they're not in like a panic mode, like cancel anything. They're just basically looking at it like, okay, this didn't work the way we wanted it to, but we're still going to try in the future.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's going to be what they do moving forward, but hey, whether that article is real or not, I hope it is, because then that's a good mindset to be in. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing. I don't think. Domestically, it looks like it's on its way to being done. I mean, it's fifth place.
Yeah.
We got maybe another week or two, and then it's out domestically. But foreign numbers. I mean, don't you think we'll get like? How much more do you think we'll get, really? Because we're at 301 right now.
I can't think it's going to be much more compared to what it already has.
Like another 20 million or
maybe
like 30 million, and okay,
potentially, yeah.
I mean, of course, 170 to make. It's going to make like 320. I mean, is it that much of a failure? I mean, it did or no? I mean, it made a little profit. I mean,
so compared to Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island, it didn't even come close to what those two made.
No, I understand that, but we can't count it as a failure, though, can we? Or
the studio probably will, because they'll look at the numbers that the previous two films in the MonsterVerse made and say, yeah, this didn't do anywhere near that. And I think that they'll, while yes, it potentially made back the production budget, and I heard the marketing budget was around 70 million, which again, I still don't think that's accurate because of how much marketing this movie got.
Right.
So if you add those numbers up, yes, it made more than what they put into that. However, a lot of that's coming from the foreign market, and they don't get all of that.
That is true, though. Yeah, we know that. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, though. This is what somebody else pointed out, and I think that there is something to be said about this. The movie did well in China. Legendary Pictures is owned by a Chinese corporation.
Right.
So they might be looking at this and going, okay.
Right.
We did well over here. Like, like one of those things. And they also mentioned that, Pacific Rim didn't do very well over here. However, it got a sequel anyway, which was complete trash, but that's a different story.
Yeah, that's not true.
Now, the other thing the other big topic, this has been the biggest topic, I think, Godzilla-wise, other than the box office performance. Godzilla versus Kong. Now, I had heard that the executives or somebody from Legendary, one of the higher-ups from Legendary, had said that they're possibly going to delay the film to later in the year of 2020.
Why would they do that?
Because they said that they don't think it's going to be as good as it could be in the amount of time that they have left.
But they said it was done. It was fine before.
They said that they finished principal photography. They were still in post-production, so the movie was not completely done. It's still not completely done.
Okay.
So I've heard that as of right now, it's still coming out on March 13th, 2020. But I heard that if it makes a move, it's either going to be in August or September.
Yeah, well, I mean, August or Well, first of all, what's coming out in August or September? I mean, that's what we need to look at that first of all, because I mean, it might have been safe where it was at. Now by you moving it, um, let's see, you're going up against you Bill and Ted. You're going up against a WB thing, a sci-fi thing.
That WB thing
Yeah.
is possibly the movie. It's possibly Godzilla versus Kong.
Okay. So that's what the untitled thing is.
Could be, yes.
And then you got in September. I mean, I guess it would be Conjuring, whatever.
I think it's going to go to August. I honestly think that release date is.
There's nothing really coming out there,
and I think that this might be a good thing to do, because while August used to be one of the bad months for movies to come out, it's not like that anymore.
Not since Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly, right. So I think that with the reduced competition and maybe a better spot there, that will do better than Godzilla King of the Monsters. My one concern, and it's a pretty big concern about this, is that when they say that they want to make this better than it is, does that mean that we're going to have like a massive amount of reshoots to try and accommodate what the critics didn't like, which in this movie, I don't know why, but in this movie was with Godzilla King of the Monsters I'm referring to, was that they felt that the human characters either A, didn't have enough to do or weren't interesting enough.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I honestly think here's the thing, right? Never did we ever have the human characters be as fleshed out or important, I think. I mean, you had a great cast, I thought. I was completely okay with it. I was fine. Yeah. I have a feeling they're going to try to cut back on the human interaction.
No, I don't think they're going to.
You don't think so?
Because I think they're not looking at if they were looking at the audience score right now, there would be nothing to change.
Well, aren't the same characters going to be in the next one?
Well, three of them I think have been confirmed. That's Kyle Chandler. Kyle Chandler's character, Dr. Mark Russell, Madison Russell, who is Millie Bobby Brown, right. And Zhang Zi's character, Dr. Chen.
Okay.
Or she could be playing the other one because they're both twins. So, I mean, we don't know. I think it's going to be Chen, though. But those are the only ones we know right now. Allegedly, Denai Guerrera is in the movie. Alexander Skarsgård is in the movie. I think he's playing the main human villain, but I don't know. And there's a couple other names, big names. The guy who plays the concierge in John Wick at the Continental.
Okay.
He's in it.
Okay. He's in everything, but yeah.
So I mean, again, they've got a great cast of human characters. My thing is, like I was saying before, if they were looking at the audience score, there'd be no problem. They would probably keep the movie the way it is.
It was excellent.
I think what they're looking at is the low critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and all these other sites. And they're saying, okay, what did they not like about this? And the one thing that they didn't like about it was centered around the human characters, which to me means we're going to get a lot of human scenes in this next movie. Now,
but then that means they have to cut away from the monster scenes, no?
Yes.
Oh no!
Because it didn't. Because here's the thing. Like we could say, oh no, but it didn't work. They put more monster scenes in King of the Monsters, and it didn't work. So they're looking at it like, well, obviously that's not what people want to see, at least the critics. So let's go back to the. I honestly think that they're going to go back not to completely the Gareth Edwards formula, but I think they're going to look at 2014 and go, that worked.
Right.
So
I'm just worried that
the
original interpretation is going to be changed from what we were going to originally say.
Well, I've always been concerned about this next film, Godzilla vs. Kong, because I don't have 100% confidence in Adam Wingard. Just looking at his filmography and the way he makes film, I don't, and for you, I can give you the best example. He made that most recent Blair Witch movie.
Oh, screw that.
I mean,
the time travel one? Screw that.
So
Oh no.
I'm massively now. My concerns were a bit soothed when I heard that Michael Dougherty had some hand in writing this and pushing it in the direction it had to go into.
But
But
why did these people get these big movies? Like, what did he do that he earned that
see,
spot?
I don't know. Like Gareth Edwards made sense because he made Monsters, and everybody was like,
Okay.
"That was great," you know.
Right.
The other guy, Jordan Vogt Roberts, was a new director, but they liked his vision of Skull Island, so they were like, "Okay, let's give him a shot." That worked.
Right.
Michael Dougherty made Trick or Treat and Krampus, which I liked
Yeah.
both of those, and I thought they were both
Yes,
good.
me too.
So that made sense, and he worked with Legendary on both of those, so that made sense. He was in house. Adam Wingard to me is like he came out of nowhere, and it was like Adam
He
Wingard.
must have had an in or he must have had an in or something.
He
Somebody must have.
He must have.
He pulled somebody pulled favor or something.
Either that or either the writers' room that constructed this MonsterVerse liked his movies and said, let's give him a shot, which I think Godzilla versus Kong is a pretty big shot.
Yeah, that's a big shot to give to somebody.
Or maybe they brought him in and he pitched them on an idea and they were like, that's great.
Maybe he's good. Maybe he's going to be great.
It could be.
You can't always do shit movies forever.
I listen. There are some movies on there that I've heard people say are absolutely excellent. That, like
right.
You're Next, and I think there was one called The Guest that I've heard were great. I need to check them out before Godzilla versus Kong.
You're Next. That's a horror movie.
Yeah,
I think that was good. Okay,
that's what I've heard. I've heard his best movie is something called The Guest.
I have to see if I remember what that's about. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, he's got 2 movies on there that are very well received. So that's good. I started looking. This is the thing that worries me is that I started looking at his movies on Rotten Tomatoes to try and get an idea of what are we potentially looking at here.
Right.
It's not great because most critics don't like his movies, but most audiences love his movies.
Right.
So we're back to square one with this. So I don't know. I'm just afraid that they're going to take the scalpel to this film that he made. Yeah. And they're going to start cutting things and reshooting things and saying, we got to make it like this. And then it's going to lose the plot. And then we're going to be like, what was his... And then I had like a vision of Godzilla fans like saying, we want the Wingard cut. Like people are still saying we want the Snyder cut. Like that's what I'm envisioning. Like I'm sleeping at night and I get up and I'm like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen?
Like, shut up with the Snyder cut already.
But constantly. I hope Godzilla versus Kong does well.
They even said that with X-Men, that they want the X-Men cut. There was a cut that there was like 20 minutes more, and it was like more fleshed out, and people were like, oh, I want this cut.
Well, the original ending to that movie allegedly took place in space.
It's like Captain Marvel, but they don't want to. Right, I guess they wanted the pressure to change it from Disney. Which I don't know. Because they wanted the deal to go through. They don't want to, make waves.
Well, look at that. That was another thing that crashed this week. Was Dark Phoenix? I mean,
right
a lot of movies. I heard that Godzilla, Brightburn, X-Men, Dark Phoenix, and Secret Life of Pets 2 all did like really badly.
Well, no, Secret Life of Pets did excellent though.
Well, I heard that it didn't do as well as they had hoped. They were saying
really?
They were saying that they were not happy with how it did.
But that's really Because here's the thing: Secret Life of Pets is #1 movie. It has hold on a minute. It has 117 million at $80 million budget. They already passed it in a couple of days.
I know they were hoping for a lot more, allegedly.
Really?
Yeah. It was the same thing with Brightburn. Brightburn did well, allegedly, but apparently the studio was like, nah, it didn't.
Well, Secret Life of Pets, the original one, made $875 million. $875 million. Foreign markets, it made 507.
Mm-hmm.
So, like this movie, it only made 40 million. But it's only the first week it was.
Yeah, but look what comes out, I think, in the next few weeks.
I mean, now, Men in Black, I heard, had horrible reviews.
Oh, yeah, I heard they said it was terrible.
But so wait, all these movies that, like, with the exception of Godzilla, because I love Godzilla, right?
Yeah.
But like some of these movies are coming out clunkers, and we thought they were going to be, like they sounded like,
Yeah.
like what the hell has happened?
I'm telling you, man, if Godzilla did what we thought it was going to do, and these other movies did what they actually did, this thing would have been fucking through the roof.
Yeah.
Pardon my language, but I'm
No,
serious.
that's
Like,
fine.
seriously,
That's
I
fine.
think at this, because originally I was saying 6:30, which
Right.
obviously we're not getting anywhere near that.
I thought it was
But-
high, man. Me too.
Yeah.
I said, oh man.
But-
I was totally convinced.
Me too.
I was totally wrong. Like, I mean, talk about a misfire.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm biased with Godzilla. Maybe it clouded my judgment, but I really believe
our reasoning was that they answered all the criticisms that people had from 2014. People liked Skull Island,
right.
So we thought, okay, with the name brand and with the correction, quote unquote corrections that people didn't like from 2014. This has, and then all this stuff. It was the #1 trailer at Comic-Con. It was the number.
I mean, I went into it right. Besides knowing all that, right?
Yeah.
As a fan myself, going into it, I know Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah.
Right.
Love the soundtrack, love the friggin' trailer, and it has actors and actresses in there that I've watched them in other shows. Right. Like I'm a huge fan of Vera Farmiga, right? From Basement. I talk about her all the time, and she's in Conjuring, and she's in Bates Motel, and she was in everything. Robert Downey Jr. She was with the Judge. She's in everything. She was in Liam Neeson. She was like everything she's in, right? So I'm a fan of her. I'm a fan of Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things. So like I was on board, and when I went in there, I even loved it even more than I thought I was gonna love it. So I thought it was excellent. I didn't have any problems with this movie, period. I was completely satisfied. So when I saw the box office, I'm in complete shock because I just cannot comprehend why people didn't see what I see, or why, like, what caused this phenomenon where this movie is dropping like flies. And I cannot, like, my son Joe loved it. He thought it was excellent. Anthony thought it was good. He didn't think it was like the best, but like still, I don't understand it. Like I freaking love this movie. Man.
The only thing I can say is that I guess maybe the interest from the general audience just wasn't there. Which I at this point I don't know how. I mean, okay, yeah, Godzilla versus King Kong. You told them that, and they're like, yeah, I'll see that possibly.
I think, Chris, it was because Godzilla 2014 came out at a nice time. And I think by you putting these movies out, like now, they're all hurting each other. This movie should have been out in March, or if not March, it should have been out, well, there was too much stuff in March, but it should have been out maybe in August or something.
Yeah.
Safe haven. Because we talked about that. We talked about that.
I wonder, too, if maybe the 5-year gap really did more damage than we thought. Because
it might have.
Originally, this was supposed to come out in 2018. Which would have been a 4-year gap.
Yeah.
However, had Gareth Edwards or whoever decided, I'll do it. I'll stay on, or they got a director. This could have possibly come out in 2016.
It should have came out early because the thing is that, like you when you have an audience, you don't want to make them wait too long. And if they would have did that with the Marvel movies, if we would have waited 5 years for Thanos, they would have dissipated. You know that. People would not have been like, it was year after year, boom, Infinity War, Endgame. That's what you need to do. Like with this Godzilla, once they knew that it would make so much money, they should have put it out in 2016.
Well, you know what the problem was, though, now that I think about it? Toho had the contract to do Shin Gojira in 2016.
Well, you know what, though? Still,
that came out.
I think it's definitely placement. I definitely think that's
it probably was. Godzilla 2014 came out on May 16th, which is just a couple of days before when this came out, about 2 weeks, I would say. But I just don't know.
Dude, we have Men in Black right now. Yeah. They said it did $3 million on Thursday, right? In previews, which you can't really tell from previews.
Sure.
Because you don't know what the hell is going to happen, right? But these movies are not like. Again, they had no competition this week, so Men in Black is going to be #1. Has to be, right? But it's not even going to have a week to itself because next week is Toy Story 4, and
which I heard was fantastic, by the way.
So did I, and that Toy Story 4 is going to be the #1 movie. Period.
It has to be. It has to be.
It is. I am like 100% convinced. Okay, and then after that, then it looks like Toy Story is going to be #1 for a little while until like, But I don't even know if a horror. Annabelle comes up. I don't even know if even Annabelle Comes Home would like that's going to be by itself on the 26th.
That might be good counter programming to Toy Story, but like,
I mean, Child's Play I think is going to sink in the water. I don't even think that's going to.
Yeah, I think Child's Play is going to have a rough.
And Spider-Man,
I have no idea anymore.
We don't know. Spider-Man, they said it's $150 million opening.
I can believe that.
So I think so too.
And coming off of Endgame, I think people are interested to see how it follows up. So I mean,
it's probably going to be 2 weeks #1 until Lion King comes out. But then, it's just here we go. These movies are going against each other. They're knocking each other out. They're too close together. It's like you can't even breathe. And then you got the Quentin Tarantino movie after Lion King. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Mm.
So, and then after that, you got Fast and the Furious, Hobbs and Shaw. And then you got Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then Dora the Explorer for the kids. And then you got, there's so much, variety. Like, if you don't want to go see a horror movie, you go see, there's so much stuff now this year. This year is all about variety. There's so much different things.
Yeah.
It Chapter 2. This Rambo Last Blood, which we talked, and this is the funny thing. I'm calling Billy out again. Listen to this. So, Billy contacts me the other day, right? And he sent me a link, about saying how Sylvester Stallone's doing another Rambo after this one, right? So I said we talked about this on the Everything Show already. I already said that he's going to do another one because I heard from my sources he's definitely doing another one. So we definitely covered this. And he's like, no, you got it from me. And he's like, that's not true. I'm like, yeah, it is. And he's like, give me the link. Give me the link. And I gave him the link. And in 5 minutes and 41 seconds, I flat out say on here that I heard he's doing another Rambo. He's doing another Rocky. And I was 100% certain. I was not even like 95% certain. I was 100% certain from my sources, knowing he's doing this because he said this, right? And I know the way he's thinking because, why would you do a Rocky now? You got Creed. So when I proved it to him, of course, didn't get an apology, Billy, but you don't want to believe it right away, But it's just, I have to throw that out there, Billy.
Well, to be fair, who would believe that Stallone wants to do another Rambo after Yeehaw Rambo on the Ranch?
Yes, exactly.
That's hard to believe.
And in the sequel, he gets the bandana back.
Is it all about finding the bandana?
Maybe they took his bandana.
Oh,
so then he's killing them all.
What if this is actually a troll and it's not like another Rambo movie, but it's like the second part of this one?
What if this guy thinks he's Rambo? He's actually Rocky brain damaged.
It's Rocky thinking he's Rambo.
Brain damaged.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
What if the government made an experiment on Rambo and cloned him into Rocky Balboa and made him a boxer?
Oh, that sounds like a great crossover.
They did all these cloning technology, and they cloned this other one that they put as like the head of the Expendables. Wow. And all the characters are all cloned from Rambo.
Something similar to that happened in real life, except it was with triplets, not clones. But yeah.
Why not just make him a triplet with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Is that still happening?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
That's been. You know what the funny thing was? You know how I'm with movies now? I was like this when I was younger. Like when I was a teenager, when I was a kid, I was like this, getting the Starlog magazines, all the magazines, because we didn't have computers, right? So I was a nut like this. And any article in the newspaper, I made sure I bought. Like my parents got me every newspaper about anything to do with entertainment. And there was like this article about ET2, I remember, right?
Oh gosh.
And they said it was coming out and whatever. And I told my friend, I'm like, oh, they said it's happening, whatever. And he bet his father, like money, like it was like a joke thing, right? But of course he lost, and he was mad that he lost. But the funny thing is, after all these years, right? He said he was going to do another ET, but then he's changed his mind. They had the script and everything. They were going to have Elliot go into space or some shit.
Oh,
and I was like, oh my god, I was kind of almost right. Like it was like whatever. But I was always like looking up the news, entertainment news, and the only way you can look it up, you can have a computer, so you have to go to the newsstand, and you'd have to. I knew when the magazines were coming out, when they were unpacking it. This is how crazy I was. So they had the all the magazines, just like the newspapers, had that big the thing that they carry like the newspapers, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't break it with your fingers. You had to cut it with a scissor. So I would wait for them to put it on the rack, and I would get I'm telling my dad. My dad bought me, God bless him, right? Starlog, Fangoria, Cinescape, Star Trek magazine, everything. Star Trek Communicator. He bought me every damn thing I asked him to buy me. Every magazine. And I even got the video game magazines, Electronics Gaming Monthly and Game Pro and everything. So I had tons of magazines, and I would come home and I would research and everything. And I would, instead of like, on the computer, I would send letters in. Waiting a month to be in the letters page. So I appeared in the Back to the Future fan magazine. I was a whole column. I had they put my whole thing in there because I was trying to prove the existence of the future, the alternate future, like this whole whatever. And then I would send stuff out to Marvel Comics, and Tom McFarlane put me in his Spider-Man thing, and I just it wasn't Matrix Lord, it was just me, Joe, but I was a nut like that.
It was Matrix Squire.
it was just Joe, it's like whatever, and it just evolved with the technology that we got, which brings up to a point I want to bring up to now, which it falls right into place. Right before we did this podcast, Chris, the reason why I was a little disoriented to see if we were live or not, because we have a thing right in the upper right-hand corner of my screen that says we are live, right? So I look at that to see when I could start saying this is Matrix Lord 2, right? So there was a different message when we did this podcast. I don't know if you saw it. It was on my end. It says that Google is no longer going to have Google Hangouts anymore. They're doing away with Google Hangouts. So here it is. We hit the live button, and I'm totally in shock, disoriented, where I wasn't saying the speech for a couple of seconds because I'm contemplating, what does this mean? Does this mean that we can't do podcasts anymore on YouTube? I know we got the Zoom, but why are they doing this? And they said, oh, if you want to stream, go to the stream. Now, the stream that they have for YouTube does not allow you to have anybody in there. It's a single stream. I've done that recently. And I remember I've been telling you we've been having problems with Google Hangout because it doesn't tell you how many people are watching like it used to.
Yeah.
And we've been having problems with it lately. They got rid of Google Plus. This is bad. This is bad for podcasting, that's for sure. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna do the Zoom. We have nothing else. But this is bad news, man. I'm gonna tell you right now. I mean, for those of you guys that love the streaming, it is not gonna be streamed anymore because we're gonna be doing the Zoom. The Zoom can't stream. So right now we are streaming, I guess, live. And your comments. I haven't seen any comments lately. Have you seen any comments, Chris? Or?
I haven't been keeping up.
Yeah, so I'm gonna check it right now. But I mean, I don't even know if people can see us with the way it's been lately. Oh, hey, we got somebody. Daniel Forrester. Hey, Daniel, what's up? So, yeah, I can't believe the Google Hangouts are going away. It's terrible. All right, so back to the movies. I'm sorry. We'll talk about those on another show. So Men in Black, I mean, do you think that's going to have a presence like the other Men in Blacks?
I don't know, because I think this cast is, well, Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith were pretty popular at the time when those came out. So I mean, I don't
I mean,
know.
the first one did 589 worldwide, right?
Okay, yeah.
The second one did 441. The third one, why do they have? Wait, what? Where's Men in Black 3? Okay. Why would they have it? Oh, they have it differently. MIB, they have it by itself. Oh, and the third one was the most successful one, 624 million. So, I mean, I don't know if it's going to do 624 million. I mean, I would think it would have done a couple 100 million, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a failure. You think it's going to be a failure?
I would be surprised, but then again,
So would I. I mean, I thought the potential was to make a trilogy out of this. They got a new cast, but then again, what do we know, right? I mean, for all we know, Shaft could be number one and could make like $1 billion.
Yeah, for real.
I don't know. You could study the box office, you could study anything, but there's always these abnormalities, whatever. I can't even say the word. There's always these things you can't predict.
Box office anomalies.
Yeah, thank you. Box office anomalies. Yeah, I can't say anomalies tonight. So, yeah. Damn. They still have New Mutants on the friggin' list for next. So, I mean, what else? Anything on Star Wars?
I heard a pretty disturbing story about Star Wars lately, which has got me cringing for Episode 9 because, oh gosh.
Oh, no.
I don't know how true this is, so take this with a grain of salt, but I heard that they're running out of time with this movie to get everything done. And to save time, they've been editing the movie on set.
What?
That's what I've heard.
So this is going to be a shit show.
This could be pretty bad.
So Star Wars Episode 9 is the Rise of Skywalker is going to be a shit show.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, so here's the common sense aspect, right, Chris? We saw all these mistakes have been making, right, lately. Wouldn't the smart thing to do would be, because you know how they love to announce this shit years in advance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't the smart thing to do be that they make an announcement tomorrow that they're delaying the movie for a year?
I don't even think they have to do it for a year. I think they just would have to do it for a couple months.
I mean, why put a movie out if it's gonna get effed up? Like, common sense says screw scheduling, screw these deals where Avatar is gonna be by itself or Indiana Jones. Like, forget about that. Save the movie. Fix the movie. What the frig? Don't put it out in December. Right now, please, whoever's watching this from freaking Disney, from freaking Luke, don't ruin it. Wait. Fix it. Don't put it out. You're going to F it up even more. God, Chris. They don't listen. They're not going to listen, Chris. They're going to throw this shit out. It's going to fucking bomb, and then they're going to be like, what the fuck happened? Watch.
Well, I mean...
Watch. And then it's done. Then it's totally done.
I gotta tell you this, right? You know how I feel about them, potentially bringing Palpatine back and.
Yeah, you're not happy about that. I'm happy about
it. This is my thing. If they put this movie out and they don't do it the right way that people are thinking, because I think they've trailered them. I'm coining this phrase. I think they've trailered themselves into a corner. And what I mean by that is, and other movies have done this too, you put something out in the trailer, people start expecting it to be one way, when it's a totally different way in the actual film. From what we've heard, Palpatine, like the genuine article Palpatine, is only in this movie for a little bit.
He better not be.
Before he possesses somebody. This is
spoilers. He better be in this movie for a while.
So here's the thing: if what they're saying is true, They better start telling people this in the next trailer.
I gotta tell you right now, when I was waiting for Darth Vader and they did the prequels, and I'm like, this is gonna be. I had this whole thing in my head. He was gonna be in movies. He was gonna be in the
Well, that's what I'm
armor.
talking about. If I
It
could
was
just
like, oh my god,
throw that in there. If I could throw this in there for a second, that's trailering yourself into a corner.
right. And I was like, I can't wait. This is gonna be. And then when I saw him for a minute or a couple of minutes, I was like, and I was so upset, like beyond belief, that after decades and shit, that's what you got. That's what you got. But then, when I saw him in Rogue One, you don't know how friggin' vindicated I was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that did it for me. I mean, I was like, finally, you get. And I always, Chris, you remember before even Rogue One came out, remember how I always told you in these casts, I said, the way he is with the Force, if he had a movie, it would be a horror movie. Remember, I kept saying that. I said, somebody's gonna film a thing. He's gonna come in there and he's gonna like wipe everybody out, and people's mouths gonna be open, and it's gonna be a damn massacre. When they actually did something like that in Rogue One, I was like, this is like a damn dream come true. Thank you. Like I've always envisioned this. It actually happened the way I envisioned it. Him just and gotta tell you right now, seeing him like that, you knew he went easy on Luke. You friggin' knew.
Well, if anybody's still questioning that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell.
Come on, man. Come on. It was ridiculous. They had no chance. They were screaming. It was ridiculous. I loved it. And that was a surprise that people went crazy over that movie too. Like, didn't think it was going to make that much, and it did.
Well, ironically, that's what people cite as the best thing Disney's done with Star Wars.
Thank you.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but
I agree that that's one of the best things. Did you want to know why?
It's one of the best. Yeah, I don't think it's the best though.
No, I think it's one of the best because why don't you give people what they want? You imagine doing a Darth Vader movie, hunting down the Jedi? That's more than what we have now. Like what we have now, I mean, first of all, we know since they did The Force Awakens, there's always been conflict because the guy that wrote the script originally, he showcased. I think it was that he showcased a new character. What did he do? He showcased the older characters, and he didn't showcase the new characters, and they changed it. They want the new characters showcased more, and the older characters showcased the little. There was a whole different plan for this.
It was something similar to that.
Yeah, it was the opposite of what the person.
They went more with the George Lucas idea for Episode 7, where it was the newer characters, where the older characters were more of like the, those who would show them the way, kind of thing.
And they should have done the reverse. They should have made and then have the.
I would agree with that if these movies came out 20 years ago. Now I don't agree with that because. The characters and the actors themselves have aged to the point where they can't really be the main characters anymore because you might not make a whole trilogy with them before, unfortunately they pass away. So it's like,
right. Yeah.
And George Lucas is a lot of this stuff that we've seen so far in 7 and 8 was things that apparently Lucas had planned.
Okay.
Like Rey. Her name was Kira in his version.
Except for the Emperor coming back, right?
No, apparently he had the Emperor coming back at one point.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's what they've been saying. That's why apparently J.J. Abrams went to him, and he's kind of told him some things to do with the movie because apparently bringing Palpatine back was something he was going to do had the movies continued past Return of the Jedi.
So he actually died, right?
Yes.
But he's linked to an object, right? Like, I guess that's what it is.
That would be the in-canon explanation now because that's the only way Sith can do it at this point.
Okay.
Now, can they change? Of course. They could always introduce a new force power. They could, do whatever they really want to do. I'm just hoping that we get some kind of wrap-up for Snoke. And we hear, what was how did he factor into all of this?
Yeah, don't make it like he was a damn joke and just like he was insignificant. He was just a figurehead because that cheapens him really.
It does. Yeah. I've heard a couple. Again, we're back to the Snoke theories, how things have come full circle. But I've heard a lot of theories about people saying that he was part of Palpatine's plan to come back. He helped Palpatine come back. I don't know. I really don't know.
I have a question for you because we know, of course, that there's a lot of bull crap out there when it comes to Star Wars news lately. There's tons of sites putting false information out. We don't even talk about because it's just nonsense. But what is the notion that, because I'm not that I believe this, but that Luke Skywalker isn't dead.
He's dead.
He's definitely dead. He's a ghost.
He's dead. There was an image of him as a Force ghost that
he's definitely a Force ghost. Okay.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I've heard a lot of people say that at one point in this movie he comes back to life for a short period of time.
And like the Highlanders? Why would you do that?
Fucking do it, JJ. This isn't your fucking Cloverfield paradox. Don't do it.
That they did. Okay, I don't know if you remember the Highlander movies.
I do.
Okay. Remember how they brought back Sean Connery after he died? And then he was alive for quickly, and then they killed him quickly, right? Like, and every now and then somehow they were able to bring him back, and then they died, right? I hope they don't do that like that. Don't bring him back to kill him, because that's just like nonsense.
Yeah, don't bring him.
I mean, if they said the Emperor comes back, and then the good have to come back too, and you brought Luke Skywalker, I'm like, okay, Emperor's back, Luke's back, whatever. That's a fine if it was a balanced thing, and whatever the Force thing was, and they spit it out. That would be okay with me, but don't have him come back and then kill him right away. That's stupid.
I also heard something that was interesting, that they're alluding to the fact that we're finally gonna get an answer to like Rey's backstory, like completely, right?
Okay.
And I heard a explanation that if you look at that scene in The Last Jedi where she looks in the mirror and she just keeps seeing like versions of herself
she's cloned?
Repeated. I heard a theory that she's a clone. And she's one of the clones that the Empire made for Palpatine that his body could potentially inhabit should he die. But she escaped, or somebody let her out before anything like that could happen. And Kylo Ren was telling her the truth, that her parents really are nobody, because her parents are not the important part. It's the fact that she's a clone. Now, I like that idea, because when you look at it, it answers everything that people have questions about.
She's a clone of who, though?
Well, she might be a clone of Palpatine himself.
As a female?
Yeah.
Or taken from his DNA?
I mean, it would be from his DNA, but who knows why they made. Palpatine's all about getting one over on people, so it wouldn't surprise me if he was like, make one of them female, so if I inhabit that one, nobody will think. It answers everything. It answers the question, which I don't think is a question, but the question of, hey, why is she so powerful? It answers the question of, hey, why does the dark side call to her? It answers the question of, hey, Kylo Ren, was he lying to her or not? It answers it literally answers everything that people have questioned. And I think, honestly, I say do it.
But the old canon said you can't. Didn't the old canon, they tried to do that? They tried to clone, and it didn't work right. Like, it could never be, like, you could never clone, like, Luke, like they tried, right? They cloned Luke.
Well, here's the thing, though. In that old canon, in the Thrawn trilogy, they made a successful Luke clone.
Right.
So, and Jorah Sabayoth was a clone. Now, they went nuts.
Right.
But in this canon, you could say, this is what I think they should do. In this canon, I think they should say that Rey had to focus so much on her survival on Jakku that she didn't have a chance to go crazy. That she was literally so focused on just staying alive that it was like, yeah, she didn't go crazy because she had something to focus on.
I mean, maybe if that's,
So it wraps everything up, and it explains a lot of these questions that people have.
Right.
And really, I hope that is the way they go, because then that kind of shuts everybody up about her being too powerful. which I've never thought was an issue. But
I
there you go.
you and I differ with the Last Jedi because I didn't
Right.
understand why she didn't require training like everybody else. But whatever. All right, so now one more question now. Transformers, what's happening with that?
Nothing at the moment.
It's funny. I read a book today. I think it was in Immortal Hulk. There was Tony Stark in there or something.
Mm.
And I think he did like a joke or something. He's talking to Betty Banner or whatever, and he said something like he just invented this plane that could transform. He called it the Starscream.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit! I gotta tell Chris this stuff.
Tony Stark is Primus confirmed.
Right. That was pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, no, I don't know. The last thing I heard conflicting things about they're doing Transformers 6, they're not doing Transformers 6. Then I heard that they were doing an Optimus Prime movie or potentially a TV show. The movie's canceled and they're not doing a TV show. There was supposed to be an animated film on Cybertron. I don't think that's happening anymore. So I think the only thing that actually is happening is a potential sequel to Bumblebee.
Yeah, I think that's in the works, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, as of right now, it's pretty much dead. There's really not much going on. I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna wait for either like Comic-Con or they're gonna wait for a point next year and they're gonna have a big announcement like here's where we're going with the live action series. We're gonna follow the rebooted series from Bumblebee or I don't know. I think they're probably going to go with Bumblebee because it did well financially and a lot of people seem to like it. So I think they're going to just, strike while the iron is hot and just say, hey, we're going with this continuity now.
All right, another question. Spider-Man Far From Home, right? Is there a new deal that was inked with Sony and Marvel, not to do with Spider-Man, but to do with Norman Osborn? Because they have the rights to Norman Osborn, Sony. Right? But isn't he supposed to be in Phase 4 with like all these movies? Norman Osborn?
I don't know if they did anything officially.
Because I've been hearing this for a while that spoilers, guys, in case this is true for Far From Home, that there's an after credit scene where it's Norman Osborn forming the Sinister Six.
I've heard something similar to that.
And he's behind Mysterio.
I could see that happening because in Homecoming, we never found out who bought the Avengers Tower.
Correct.
I know that the two prevailing theories were that it was Norman Osborn and that's going to be Oscorp's Tower, or that it's going to become the Baxter Building for the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four thing has been debunked because Kevin Feige said we have no plans for the Fantastic Four at all in this phase.
So Phase 5.
Yeah, so in this one, they're not in it. Them and the X-Men are not in this phase.
I know that for except for Deadpool. Deadpool is the exception. Deadpool is the exception here. Yeah.
I think it's going to become the Oscorp Tower. Because I know that there are multiple rich villains in the Marvel universe, but
are they going to make it where he's...
Let me finish. Yeah. Like, why would you introduce that in a Spider-Man movie? You know what I'm saying? Like, it has to be Oscorp because that sets up the next big thing for Spider-Man. And I heard a rumor. I don't know how true this is. I really hope it is. I heard that they were potentially going to get Bryan Cranston to play the part.
Oh, well, that would be good.
That would be really interesting. But
why make... Because are they going to do... Because he's Spider-Man's villain.
He is.
Later on, he became like a villain to the Avengers and all that stuff. But when they made him bigger. But it sounds like they're making him everybody's villain.
I think he's going to be mainly Spider-Man's villain. But you know how, like, Stark Industries stuff would kind of weasel its way into other movies?
Right.
Like technology and references and stuff. I think that it's going to be like that, just in the opposite, where it's like instead of this being a good thing, it's a bad thing. Because now that Tony Stark's dead, they could start saying that, hey, Stark Industries doesn't have their genius behind them anymore. Now Oscorp has taken the reins, and they're possibly going to be the number one provider for the military and energy and all these other things. And we could kind of see like a reverse, of like the universe within Marvel, mainly on Earth, obviously, saying like, "Hey, we don't need the Avengers that much anymore. We got Oscorp. He's got things wrapped up." But obviously he doesn't because he's playing both sides.
Yeah.
He's probably causing most of these issues, but just not saying that he is, obviously.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man is that would what's interesting about that? That would be a good way to introduce the Daily Bugle, where he's like trying to get the inside story on what's actually going on with Oscorp.
Yes.
And obviously Jonah Jameson hates Spider-Man, so he's like, no, Oscorp's doing the right thing. They hate.
But you need
Spider-Man.
to get J.K. Simmons though as J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't think anybody would have an issue with that.
I wouldn't.
I don't think anybody would be like, no, he was the one that because the guy. Let's face it, he is Jonah Jameson in real life.
I know he is.
Just like him, he acts just like him in the movies.
I know he is.
Just
I wanted to show you this awesome Mysterio cover. I think I showed it before, but I got to tell you that this cover is stunning.
Oh, that's crazy.
I know it is crazy. It's a Battle Lines cover on the back. It's actually a Miles Morales comic, but they just did a variant villain for Battle Lines, whatever this thing is. So this is the most stunning Mysterio thing I've ever purchased. So
yeah, that's really beautiful.
I'm glad I own that right now. So that's good. But anyway, all right. So, and nothing else on Terminator.
Oh gosh.
Don't get us started, right? God, man, I'm worried about that movie. I think Rambo: Last Blood is already, but Terminator, I'm
gonna tell you right now, I think Rambo: Last Blood is gonna be a better movie than Terminator: Dark Fate.
Probably will.
Yeah.
Probably will, and we know it's getting a sequel because we've said that on previous everything shows, and Billy confirmed it, which we already knew anyway that was happening. So, but all right, dude. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye for now.